When you think about women, what percent of the global workforce do you think are made up of women today? How many? 83%? Anybody else? 92% of the workforce made up of women. That's pretty high. That would be wonderful though, wouldn't it? Actually, research tells us that we're about 51%. The global workforce consists now of a majority of women. And I ask leaders in organizations all the time is, how ready are you for this reality? How are you recruiting now that you know that the workforce is now dominated by women and that's going to continue to grow? By 2030, it's expected to be 55%. So what does that look like then when you start to move up the corporate ladder, right? Women in consumer spending, you have to, organizations have to think about their strategies and even their marketing, their communications, and their recruiting, because when you look at consumer spending, nearly 80% of all decisions, financial decisions, really are made by women. 85% of all of the checkbooks and as we say the purse strings of decisions are made by women. Globally, that number is 64%. So think about how you as organizations are making decisions around how do you service your customers who are probably predominantly women that are making those decisions. And then what research shows through analysts and through economists is that women are going to contribute by at least 2018 somewhere between $28 to $40 trillion to the gross domestic product. As we think about it too, women going back to school, getting degrees, 60% now of all earned degrees are by women. From associates all the way up to doctorates. But then when we start to look at the marketplace and then in the workforce, we don't see as much of that representation. If women are more educated and going back to college at rates of 2 to 1 to men, then why don't we see that reflected when we look at our organizational structures and our hierarchies? 38% of all MBAs are now women globally. Catalyst, which is a global think tank and a consulting firm that studies women's trends and women in the workforce, did a longitudinal study where they studied some of the top MBA schools around the world. And what they found was that women and men who were graduating at the same time from the same MBA programs and those same colleges and universities, that when they went out to get jobs, is that their male counterparts were paid $4,000 more in base salary than the women. Why does that happen? Same degree, coming from the same colleges or universities. Well, some of the research continues to show that we still have a lot of unconscious bias in our society, that there's still social norms around roles and responsibilities, and why don't we pay men more? Because they've got families and children to take care of, right? They're the breadwinners and the heads of households. Well, we know that that's changing quite a bit and quite dramatically. I was working with an organization very recently where the male executive was not promoting a woman simply because he thought he was being very considerate and not giving her the promotion twice because it required a lot more travel. And he figured she didn't want to travel as much because she had to be at home taking care of the kids. He didn't have a clue that for her, that was actually being minimizing and trivializing because she had a family, she had a support system. And too many times, too often times, women are overlooked for those kinds of opportunities simply because of unconscious biases. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But these women that go to get these jobs and aren't paid as much, so that was one, social norms and unconscious biases. But research also shows too is as women that there's an opportunity for us to be more willing to negotiate our salaries. And that's another reason why men tend to make more, even in their base salaries, is because they ask for it. You know, it's interesting, I was reading another study that said too that when positions or jobs are open, that men can only have 30%, they only really need 30% of the qualifications for them to apply and believe that they're ready for the job. What percent do women have to have? 85 to 90% before we feel comfortable applying for positions. Now, I worked in human resources in every area, and I used to head up recruiting, and one of the things that I would see, which really bodes well to this statistic, is that men would come in, and on their resumes, it actually was a lot of embellishment, very accessorized with their experiences. But they actually always asked for more money, even when we told them what the base salary was. Very few women would do that. They did not come in ready to negotiate, ready to ask for more, or to state their value and their worth. I found that even when we would have promotional conversations about moving women up the corporate ladder, they were okay with taking the 2% increase that they were given. Men use that as a starting point. So it's an opportunity for us to, obviously as women, to learn more about how we can certainly be more in tune to our own personal value, our own personal worth, and be willing and be bold to stand up and say, I am worth more than that, and to demand it. And oftentimes we don't have it because we don't ask for it. So research continues to show that even in the workforce, that women are continuing to grow both in education as well as in the marketplace, in the consumer spending, as well as in the population. And what analysts have said is that if all of the developed countries in the world would invest in gender parity, is that it would contribute more, upwards of almost $13 trillion to the gross domestic product by 2025. So there is a business case for continuing to focus on bringing in, developing, growing, and promoting more women in our society.